Okay, so let's talk diagnostics. So I'm going to go through a few different tools. I've got a phone app, I've got a basic diagnostic machine, and I've got a kind of garage spec machine as well. So I'll try and get this one fired up, and this kind of might demonstrate some of the issues with different ways to do it. So if you're trying to diagnose something at home, you might use an app. This is Canyon, which is written for these cars. I've got a Bluetooth dongle, and we'll see if we can get it to connect and see what information we get. So just waiting for it to fire up. I mean, I always find these things are a little bit more clunky. Some of the apps will give you fault codes, but no live data. So that's not connected yet because this is red. Just select my device and see what happens. So this one doesn't give you fault codes, but it does give you live data, and it says it's connected. And we're going to see what happens here. So first thing on the left, we've got state of charge 122%. That's not quite right, and the voltage is 6,554 volts. Obviously these are not too good. It says it's connected. Those figures haven't changed yet. Okay, so this is interesting, and this is kind of illustrates one of the problems. So because I've seen this before, I know what that means. But if you're looking at this at home, you're thinking, is that app working? What's happened here? Something's gone mad. So we've got each of the cells inside the high voltage battery along here. So 1 to 88. It's got 88 lithium ion batteries in the battery pack. And this would be the voltage normally, a bit like it showed first. You'd actually have numbers up here. But what's happened here is, if you look here, there's actually 8 there. And that is cells sort of 9 to 16. So what it's showing here really is that the car thinks that module 2 has a ridiculously high voltage, and I know that is definitely what it thinks. But if you're doing this at home, you might think, well, this app doesn't work, or something like that, and that kind of illustrates the issue with these. And this app's actually crashed as well, I think, because these voltages are just completely out of range. It's crashed the app. There are other screens with different information on, but again, the apps are cheap. This one is really good, to be fair, with these cars, but it can't handle. See, it's crashed. It can't handle it, and that kind of illustrates the point, really. Okay, so the app showed us a bit of information, but then it crashed, and yeah, yeah. So some of them. So that one doesn't show you any fault codes. It will show you live data. So trying to diagnose a car just from that, very difficult. There are other apps for different cars that will show you fault codes, but it will just give you, like, you know, ABC 1 2 3. It won't tell you if that fault code is active or not. Won't give you a description for that fault code. So apps, really difficult to diagnose from. Okay, so now I've got this icarsoft machine. This is the first one I bought when I started doing these cars. I'm not sure you can get exactly this generation before. I think they've changed them. And hopefully that's not going to be too blurry. Oh, that's better. But a really functional little machine. And I've still got it. I'm actually going to post this to someone to be able to do their diagnostics. But I just kind of show you what it does. Pick the region. And I was going to use my autel as well, but I think that's. Let's just turn that off, because otherwise the battery's going to run out. I think the battery's not too good on the autel. If necessary, I'll come back in a moment once it's charged up. I'll just show you this one. So this is a 2010 machine, a 2010 car. Yeah, so it is now scanning all the different, looking for the ECUs, looking on all the CAN networks. So this machine, this is, I think it's got the model here, but it's a bit dark. Oh, this is an MHM version 1. Yeah, I don't think you can get this one anymore, but just to show you what kind of a basic diagnostic machine looks like. So we can read fault codes. So we got cell voltage low, and we've got 4 codes on here. Cell voltage sensor. We've got active interlock switch. Oh, that is the high voltage battery safety plug. That's got an interlock. So basically an interlock tells the car that it's disconnected. So it's telling me I've got an open interlock. Yeah, that's correct, because it's there. And we've got charge state signal error from the battery management. So let's just show you some data, what this machine can do. So it's kind of a little bit clunky to use, but there's 166 pieces of data we can look at. We can select all, and then we can go start. And then you kind of have to scroll through them, which is a little bit clunky. I think you, oh yeah, okay. And then you kind of, but I mean, you know, oh, it's 166 pages, isn't it? So you rapidly reach the limitation of a machine like this. If you were using this all day, you'd probably throw it out the window. But for home use on your own car, or if you've got, you know, like a project car you want to diagnose, they're really good. Really good. It's showing you all the live data, the sort of descriptions and the fault code descriptions and all that kind of stuff is really good. And this machine was something like, I don't know, £110, something like that. It only works with Japanese. I think it's Mitsubishi, Mazda, and Honda. I think that's what the MHM is, Mitsubishi, Honda, Mazda. So yeah, you can't. Yeah, obviously, if you've got different vehicles, you might not be able to use it on all of them. But if you've got a fault with a car, or you've got a project car kind of thing, it may well sort of do the business. So that's showing you some of the data. It is a little bit more clunky, but it's not the price of an expensive, an expensive machine. So let's go into BMU, because we seem to have a high voltage battery fault. And let's look at the fault codes. So yeah, cell voltage low, cell voltage sensor, CMU2. Okay. So, and that kind of ties up with what the app showed, because this car has got, basically it's got 12 modules. I know that's not divisible into 88, but it's got 10 modules of 8, and then it's got 2 4s. So modules 1 and 2, or 1 to 10, well no, not quite 1 to 10 actually, because the 2 4s are in the middle, but 1 and 2, let's say, are 8 cell modules. So let's now investigate this a bit further. So we seem to have an issue with the cell voltage monitoring on module 2. So let's have a look at the data on module 2. So this is something, obviously we're getting in a lot more depth, a lot more information than the app can show. We just have to kind of go around the houses a little bit, because this machine is a bit more clunky to use, but it's cheaper, it's really good. So what we've got here, so lithium batteries will operate in a range, in this car at least, of about 3.5 to about 4.1. So we've got a maximum 4.03 and we've got a minimum of 2.1. Okay, so that's quite a lot. Let's just go through and see what other data we can get. So you can see it's kind of a bit clunky to go through all the screens. It takes some time. So there's 88 cells. It's got 0%, it thinks. Internal resistance values are good. So it's kind of a health metric, effectively. No leak detection. So, this is on BMU live data, isn't it? So, if we go through, okay, so here we've got module 1, and then we've got like ABC, so 4.02. Yeah, all 4.02s, that's good. In module 1, and then we'll get to module, so we've got 2.1s for module 2. Now, we kind of get into another bit of diagnostics, because, they're all 2.1. Well, that seems kind of weird. Well, from experience, that basically is a default value, because we're asking the BMS for what the voltage is, but the BMS is not receiving some correct information from the module 2 circuit board. So within these battery packs, each module has a circuit board, monitors the voltage and temperature, and that reports it back, and the BMS is just giving us default values because it basically doesn't know. But because we've got quite a cool little machine here, what we can do is we can jump down and actually look at module 2 directly. So we are communicating with the circuit board that's sitting on top of that module inside the battery pack, and then that can give us some data. So these are quite simple circuit boards, so they can't give us fault codes, but they can give us data. And have a look at this. So we can see those voltages are jumping around. So what we've either got here is we've either got a battery, like one of the cells, or some of the cells inside the battery have failed, or the monitoring circuit board on top of that module that's monitoring the temperatures and voltages has failed. Now, it's pretty obvious if you look at cell B there that it's not plausible for a battery to change its voltage like that. You can see cell D there as well. So obviously that is telling us, let's just flip to the next ones, that is telling us what we've got is a monitoring fault here. We've got an issue on the circuit board on module 2, and I've seen this fault before. I've seen it a few times, and so the cells, it's likely are at the same voltage as the other cells in the pack, so the sort of was a 4.01, but the car just thinks they're jumping around all over the place. And if the car gets any implausible information from the battery, then it will show that sort of flashing thing there. So this battery is reasonably full at that level, at 4 volts. Yeah, mostly full. But yeah, but the car doesn't know that. It's yeah, it's kind of not getting a correct signal from the battery. So that's kind of cool. I'm going to see if the autel has got any juice in it. This is quite an old autel, but the screen is not all scratched up. So I'll just see if I can turn this on just to show the sort of interface really. Oh yeah, here we go. See how long this lasts. But yeah, the battery's flat apparently. But yeah, just to kind of show, this is the sort of quality of, you know, what you can do. Oh, make that not blurry. There we go. So yeah, like if I go to, where should we go to? BMU, we'll use this for as long as it lasts with 0% of the battery. So I mean, like it shows the 12 battery voltage, which is like 14 volts because this this car's got battery support on. But yeah, we look at live data and you can kind of see the quality of the interface. I mean, it's just so much easier to use. You know, it's just a million times easier than scrolling through on that other machine. Yeah, and we get our 2.1 default values because it's not getting reasonable data. So the other thing on a proper diagnostic machine is you've got active tests and special functions. So active tests, so you can make the car do things for testing purposes, and running certain functions that Mitsubishi built into the ECUs, but that obviously not accessible through the dash or anything like that. So we are going to need some of these special functions when it comes to fixing the car, but just so much easier to use. But obviously this is not a £100 machine. This is obviously very, very different, but a lot more expensive. And to be fair, icarsoft, who make the little one, do produce better machines. But yeah, just this autel obviously has a lot more stuff on it. So, you know, if you've got an issue with a fan or water pump or whatever, you know, you can actually kind of make it, you can run the pump or whatever. You can force the car to do certain things. Yeah, it's just what you get on this above the simpler machine. But yeah, obviously this is what you use kind of in a garage environment. But it doesn't mean the other one's no good. The other one's really good for home. And both, obviously that showed us what the fault was with this car. So it doesn't mean that the icarsoft's a bad machine. Just this is kind of just mainly easier to use. And you can do a little bit more in terms of special functions and stuff like that. So hopefully that's interesting. So now we know exactly what's wrong with the car. It needs a replacement circuit board or a circuit board repair. And then that circuit board will need programming to be happy with being put inside the battery pack. It's not kind of coding to the car, it's more just that they work as a set and it needs to know it's now part of this set. So we just kind of just tell it that it's in there, and that yeah, basically just get them to work together as a set, so they're all communicating to the BMS and all reporting, and it knows it's module 2 and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, and go from there. So that is all for now. I will get this car, I need to get it moved onto some concrete so that I can get the battery out, and I'll hopefully do that tomorrow, and we will go from there. All right, cool. Go to you later. Cheers.